Hello, everybody, and welcome to what we call the micro update of RSBANDB Update. Normally, you just hear myself doing these, but today, Colton is here.
I am here, yes.
It's not only Colton that's going to be here. We're also going to have Dave, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and Zant, who used to be a former Informer writer, who are going to be giving us their thoughts on the NXT beta. So, Colton, you and I are going to start off with this, and we're just going to talk a little bit about this. First impressions of the updated NXT client when you first got into it. What did you think?
I absolutely love it. I had to move it to where the launcher was running off my SSD and everything, but it works fine now, and it's really, really nice. Like, I wish it weren't just weekends that it was open. I would like to just play this for the rest of the time that it's out, even though it's just in beta.
Yeah, and I mean, I had those exact same thoughts as well. When you hear a beta, you can have something that is remarkably polished, something that runs okay, or something that doesn't really run at all. And I think the NXT beta feels towards the polished end of the spectrum, if I must say so myself.
I would agree. Yeah, it feels nice. It runs smooth. Like when HTML5 came out, I tried, and it was choppy at best. Now, granted, I did not have the machine I'm playing on now, but that just makes it so much nicer that I actually am taking advantage of my graphics card and things like that, and I can run on Ultra, and it looks and runs nicely. So it's a pleasant feeling.
Yeah, it's only up going from here. I mean, That's the benefit we have of running on actual hardware compared to, having to work through a browser's abstraction layer. And then, I mean, even with the Java client, having to work through that, the differences are striking in terms of what's accomplishable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this has been something that really plagued RuneScape's existence back when it first came out, and probably the first 5 to 8 years of its existence, that, RuneScape was perceived as this game that people would play in middle school, and there really wasn't much to it. And over time, we've had things added, quest, a whole bunch of lore storylines, and ultimately a general refining and polishing of RuneScape itself. And for those of us who do play RuneScape week to week, know that this perception of it being a child's game or a game that's, pointless has never been true, dating back to even RS Classic. So for anyone out there who still has the idea that RuneScape is not, a fully fleshed out game, a game that is worthy of competing among the top tiers of MMOs, do you think that NXT can change that perception for those people?
I think so, at least in some capacity. It's the same old RuneScape. It still has that cartoony look to it that I think is endearing, and it's just characteristic of the game. It's never going to change. It's never going to be realistic, as it were. It's always going to have that RuneScape look, and I really like it. But I think this makes it feel nicer. I think especially the fact that you're now running at much higher FPSs if you have the proper hardware to run on. It's going to look a lot more smooth to most players who are accustomed to running 60 FPS games. It just looks nicer, it feels nicer, and it handles better, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, if there was one thing to push it over, and that's going to be that, well, now you actually have a RuneScape client that you can download just like all the other games out there. So, I mean, it might help, but for those of us who play it and the people at Jagex, those of us involved in the fan site or in general the RuneScape community, knew this was never true. But it's nice to have this out there saying that, yes, RuneScape can do good graphics as well, even though it has been doing so for a number of years. This just pushes it forward by that much.
Yeah.
All right, so beta. That normally means bugs, game-breaking issues, and things that make it unplayable. Have you encountered anything game-breaking?
Not anything particularly game-breaking, but I did have... I was kind of just trying to see if any combinations of items would cause my character model to freak out, or anything like that. So I was basically just taking all of my equipment out and equipping, unequipping, equipping, unequipping. And I came across a point where I had my penguin plushie. It was unsheathed, and I then sheathed my noxious longbow, and it did not change from having the penguin plushie. So I was fully armed. I was locked and loaded, but from what other people could see, I had my penguin plushie. I went and attacked something, and it switched to having the noxious longbow, but I could see that possibly being a problem. So I did submit a bug report on that, but not found much anything else here recently.
Yeah, same boat here. I mean, a couple color variations that aren't right in terms of water, some things to do with lighting here and there, shadows, being overzealous, that kind of thing, but it's nothing as broken as when HTML5 first came out. So that is a definite positive from Jagex's point of view. So overall, I'd say it's a fairly stable beta that we have at the state.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, favorite area?
Gosh, it might be Port Sarim. You can see the Wizard's Tower from there, and just the look of the water and the ships, just the docks. I don't know why, it just gives me a kind of a good feeling. Like I kind of hear the Port's Adventure song in my head, and I feel like sailing. So it's nice. But other than my favorite area, my favorite feature of NXT has got to be the minimap. The minimap is completely different than it was before. I don't really know how to describe it. It's almost like just a top-down look at the actual game.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and it's perfect. I don't know. You can click way further. You can see a lot better. It's just nicer.
Yeah, a great minimap feature is that you can actually take your mouse wheel, hover over the minimap, and you can zoom in and out on the minimap now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, very
so
nice.
If you want to have a huge macroscopic view of the entire world of where you are in general, you can do that. Or if you want to zoom into the building level, you can do that too. So very nice.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They really thought of it all.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a feature that people have wanted for quite some time, and the hardware's there to make it happen. And I mean, with a dynamically loaded world now rather than per map square, it's certainly doable.
Mm-hmm. True.
My favorite area would have to be Tyrannon, not necessarily Prifddinas, but just, the Elven lands outside of Prif and Leledia, because, I mean, that is an area that's existed since when? Since the Underground Pass was out, or Regicide, probably?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always grown in terms of the graphical capabilities and what they can do there, and it really shows it off. It's got the water, it's got the trees, got the environment effects, and so on. So it's a really great example to go and see what's possible there. So that's my area.
Yeah, you can see Heretia from the lodestone. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, so lots of great stuff happening there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, now it's time to go check in with Dave and Zant, so we'll do that right now. And now we're here with Dave. You guys might remember Dave being on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Hello again, Dave.
Hey, how's it going, Shane?
Pretty good, pretty good. You just came off of a stream, so that's good to hear. So we're going to get your opinion on the NXT closed beta, as you are part of it. So, going into this weekend, what are your first impressions of the new NXT client?
I'm actually very impressed with it. It's run a lot better than the HTML5 beta, that's for sure, and I was in that. I'm impressed with it. I know a lot of people have had some trouble. I've actually tested it on multiple computers. I've tested it on my older Dell laptop. And it was struggling to run. I don't know. It was definitely struggling. But then I tried it on my desktop, which is I built that a couple years ago, and it runs very smooth. It runs everything on Ultra. And then I've tried it on my gaming laptop, and it also runs very well. But overall I'm very impressed with it.
Excellent,
so far, so.
Excellent. That's good. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of video cards are you running in your main computers where you had success?
My desktop, I have a NVIDIA GTX 760, and in my laptop, I have a GTX 960 mobile, or whatever it is, I believe is what it is. So,
all right.
Those are the two graphics I'm running.
So, do you think that the new game client will change the perception of RuneScape to outsiders? Because, in the past, RuneScape has always said, we got this old-fashioned looking graphics, and, that might be a turnoff for some people. Do you think this changes that perception at all?
Absolutely. I think even just RuneScape 3 and the new interface update a few years ago changed that, because I've got on the game, I've logged on the game at friends' house and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, what are you playing?" I'm like, "Oh, it's RuneScape." Wow, that's really changed, and it really sparks their interest. And I think this NXT does as well, because even in the stream that I had today, people were saying, "Oh, what is this? What's this client? Is this RuneScape? Where are you at?" They were asking all these questions, and it was definitely sparking a lot of their interest, because a lot of the people that came to my stream today. I was hosted by somebody, and I guess his viewers aren't necessarily RuneScape players. They just enjoy watching him play because he's an older guy.
Oh, okay.
So they were coming in, and I was asking RuneScape questions, and a lot of them were saying, "Oh, we really don't play RuneScape," or I just started a couple months ago when we started watching this stream, and they were really intrigued by the graphics and stuff because they hadn't seen it. And I don't know if he has access to the beta, but it was definitely sparking interest. So yeah, absolutely, it definitely gives more of an appeal to outsiders or newcomers for sure.
All right, that's great to hear. Have you encountered any issues that could be construed as potentially game-breaking and inhibiting you in playing the beta, or has it been relatively smooth sailing?
It's been smooth sailing. There's been a couple things. I've tried to withdraw a couple things from my bank, and everything gets deposited into my bank. That actually happened on stream. I notice whenever I lodestone teleport, it does take a little. I don't want to say it takes a little while to load, but it does sort of kind of have to render and build itself. But that's not game breaking. But other than that, it's been smooth sailing for sure. There's nothing, I haven't lost items, or I haven't, glitched under a rock, or in any sort of landscape type stuff. But yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean, that seems to be the general perception of what everyone is experiencing, and that certainly bodes well for testing going forward.
Sure.
What would you have to say is your most favorite looking area in the NXT client, graphically wise?
Out of all the places I've been to, I can't say it compares with the picture that actually RuneScape tweeted out. I think it was this morning, or maybe it was yesterday, on top of the Wizard's Tower. That was pretty breathtaking, actually. I haven't been there since I've been on NXT, but on top of I guess it's the third or the fourth level of Wizard's Tower, you can see all the way down to Draenor, and you can actually see Port Sarim and stuff. And I was extremely impressed. That's it's more the fact of the draw distance that I'm impressed with, rather than the graphics. I mean, that's just kind of coming from somebody who started in 2004 and really just saw the game evolve, and now it's just so open. Anything with water, I'm very impressed with, and just the draw distance in general. And I mean, I guess a lot of people would probably agree with me that Elf City is very impressive.
Yeah,
you can just see the entire sprawling.
We heard some issues potentially with the shadows. I don't know if you saw anything like that there.
Oh, really? No, I haven't noticed anything with that. I did. It was kind of funny. I was actually training divination yesterday, and people were teleporting away. And it was funny because as soon as I lifted up, their shadow shot across the map as well at light speeds. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I've noticed that with trees as well. But I mean, that's just the general sentiment of this beta, is that it's going really well for this first weekend. So we'll have to see where it goes from there. But thank you for taking the time, Dave, and
Sure.
all the best of luck with your future streams. And you can find them at twitch.tv/arcanestreams, ARKAIN streams. Thank you.
Yep, hope to see you guys there, and thanks for having me on.
All right, and now we're here with Zant. Some of you guys might remember Zant from many years ago. He used to be with us at Informer. He took, I think, probably about a 3-year break from RS, if I remember correctly.
A little over 2.5, I believe.
Okay, all right. So you're back, and something brought you back into the game that we were just talking about, and tell the listeners what that is.
So the NXT beta.
Yeah, you saw the pictures, and that just made you want to start playing again, I guess.
Yeah, I remember back when they first unveiled the HTML5 beta. I remember when I played the beta. It was really laggy, hard to play, but it looked really cool. And that's kind of what this is.
Right.
It just runs better.
This
is what the HTML5 beta should have been.
Definitely, definitely. So that leads nicely into the first thing I'm going to ask you. First impressions upon logging into the NXT beta.
So first impressions, as an update as it stands now, it's amazing. It's crazy how much better this performs than I thought it would be. And everything just looks really good. The draw distance is amazing. The shadows are amazing. The lighting, for the most part, is amazing. That's one of the things I have a complaint about in some places. But the draw distance does really add a lot of immersion into the game. And I didn't really realize it was going to have that much of an effect until you actually like kind of get into it and do your normal daily things doing it. So yeah, it's, as a beta, it's crazy good. I cannot wait to see what's going to be like full release.
All right, and channeling some of the same things that you said there, do you think that the new game client will change the perception of what is RuneScape to outsiders?
Definitely. I think the draw distance is the main thing. Like the game before, you see screenshots of it, you see the fog, you can't really see much. You just see literally what's like 10 feet in front of you. So from an outsider's perspective of like, you know, just kind of like the graphics of the game, you can get so much more impressive visuals with this. And RuneScape for the longest time hasn't ever really been the most modern looking game, but it's kind of taken a step in that direction now. And I think the big thing for this too also is the performance. I know a lot of friends who want to play RuneScape, but they can't play it because the Java version of the game, it's kind of hard to run on their computers.
Right. All right.
So a lot of them end up playing old school.
Ah.
And I feel like this is going to be something that's going to allow more people to play the current game instead of alternatives.
All right. And one thing, just for the record, what kind of hardware are you running? Discrete GPU, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'm running a GTX 970.
Oh, okay. So fairly high-end then.
Yeah.
We're going to be trying to get some benchmarks as this beta goes on about what the actual minimum that you can run the NXT beta is on. So
yeah,
stay
I've
tuned
heard of
for
a few friends playing on lower stuff, and they're getting some pretty good performance on it. It just seems to be better performance than Java all around.
Yeah, because it has access to actual hardware. Have you noticed any game-breaking issues? How has the stability been?
The stability's been good. I did have some trouble logging in the first time, I assume, because, I mean, I started playing it like right when it went live, so it probably had something to do with that. Everyone's getting on it. Aside from like that weird glitch people are getting in Prifdinus where it's just like shadows everywhere, I've gotten that a few other places. Aside from that, nothing game-breaking. But I do have some general complaints about a few other things that aren't necessarily game-breaking.
Oh, please.
Some areas, especially quest areas, and I can kind of assume it would be like this during the beta because I haven't gone through and done places like this. You can see the edge of the world really easily. You know, like if you look, a good example is player in ports. If you look out kind of towards the boats, you can see where the water ends. That's just something that really breaks the immersion very easily. And then I was doing a quest the other day. I think it was the Mighty Fall. When you're on Ubisk, the little acid lava thing that surrounds the island is like you can see the borders of it really easily. Stuff like that. I'm assuming they're fixing that with time. That's just gonna have to be them going through and doing that. And also the lighting in some places is a little weird. Especially dungeoneering. It doesn't feel like you're in a dungeon.
I think that was mentioned as well in the known issues.
Yeah, it feels very bright. And then Virago's Cave has some really weird lighting stuff. It's like, I think once you get to like stage 3, there's like these weird green shadows on the floor. I don't know. So yeah, a lot of little stuff, but I think that's something that's gonna be improved with time.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah.
Especially being in closed beta. So, and you know, just a reminder once again to the listeners out there, if you do encounter a bug or you think something is not right, use the in-game report feature and let Jagex know about it. So following from that, what has been your most favorite looking area in the NXT client, graphically wise?
So I think everyone kind of agrees that Prifdinus looks really good. That's one of my favorites, but I think that's a really generic one. Everyone's going to say Prifdinus. My favorite place besides that is actually it's in Mauritania. If you go kind of on the coast, you know where Araxor's cave is, kind of near Darkmire. You can actually see the moon over the water there, and it's actually like reflecting onto the water, and it looks really nice.
Oh, I'll have to go and have a look at that.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful spot.
All right, that sounds good. I don't normally venture out that way, and I didn't even know there was a moon in that skybox. So thank you for letting us know about that.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Zant. Tell the listeners where they can find you.
You can find me. I'm really active on Twitter. That's my big thing.
All right.
So my Twitter ad is @Zants, Zants. If you ever want to contact me about something, that's probably the easiest way. I'm also on RuneWire, decent amount of the time, and on the forums. So I'm sure if you message me on there, I'll reply somewhat soon.
All righty. Thank you, Zant. Sounds good.
All right.
All right, everyone. Hopefully you have enjoyed that early preview of the NXT client if you were not a part of the beta. Of course, there is a video accompanying this, so you can see a selection of our fly-throughs that we've done for this. And, of course, we'll have more on the NXT beta on this coming Friday's episode of RSBANDB Update, which you'll be able to find at update.rsbnb.com. And in the intervening meantime during the week, you can follow us on Twitter @RSBNB